It's rare for an authoritarian regime to fire its own. When they do, they tend not to let them leave quietly. The demise of a top Russian official looks like an inside job, and his death has shocked the country. It seems that Vladimir Putin has killed one of his own. Why? And more importantly, what does it say about the future of Russia? We'll discuss that and more today. It was a Monday morning. Vladimir Putin was at his desk in the Kremlin, preparing for the day. Outside, the temperature in Moscow had dipped below zero. It was November. Soon, Putin would dismiss Russia's transport minister, Roman. Just hours later, he would be found dead in a Moscow park. Apparently, he had taken his own life. According to the police, a gunshot wound from a Makarov pistol, the same kind used by the police and military. His body was found lying next to an open textbook of Russian poetry. It was an unusual way to go for a man who until recently was one of Russia's most powerful officials. Now, how did he die? Suicide or murder? Well, the authorities in Moscow suggest it was the former. They say the minister shot himself, but they also say there was no suicide note. What we know for sure is that Stanislav Starovoit did not take his own life. In fact, until this week, he was a hero of Russia, a fairly recent recipient of that honor. He was also one of Vladimir Putin's longest-serving ministers, having served in that role for 18 years. In all that time, he never made any enemies that we know of. So why would he take his own life? And here's the bigger question. Why now? What happened in those few hours between his dismissal and his death? Well, reports say he was summoned to the Kremlin for a meeting with Putin. Others say the meeting never took place. We don't know what he was doing after he left the Kremlin, and we don't know if he was followed, if he was killed on the way, or if he was killed in the Kremlin itself. This is the second time in 3 months that a senior official has died under mysterious circumstances. Last September, the deputy chief of Russia's space agency was found dead outside his window. Apparently, after falling out of it, officials called it a suicide, but rumors said otherwise. Do such incidents happen in normal countries? Well, not really. In fact, this kind of death is almost unheard of in modern Russian politics. The last time something like this happened was over 30 years ago. In 1991, that year, the Soviet Union collapsed and a leader of the Communist Party took his own life. His name was Sergei Orjonikidze. He was once a close aide of Joseph Stalin. But in 1953, Stalin kicked him out of the party. The next 38 years were the worst of his life. He spent them plotting and scheming, trying to make a comeback. But in 1991, when the Soviet Union was collapsing, he saw the writing on the wall. He shot himself in his apartment. What does this latest death tell us? A lot, actually, about the kind of system we're dealing with. Here's what the newspapers said. This is what made the headlines on Tuesday. A unique event in Russian history, it said. No headline has ever been so apt. Another newspaper said, shock in the corridors of power. A third said, sudden departure. All of them were referring to the same thing, the death of Roman. But look at what state TV had to say. They gave it only 18 seconds of coverage. Just 18 seconds on primetime television. Compare that to the coverage of the war, and you will know how much they downplayed it. You see, Starovoit wasn't just a minister. He was once the governor of the Kursk region. He was removed from that post in September last year. And that, it seems, was his undoing. In his home region, he oversaw the construction of 3 defense projects, 3 lines of defense to stop the Ukrainians. They were supposed to be ready by October, but he missed every deadline. The projects were way behind schedule and way over budget. And then in September, he was dismissed. 2 months later, his successor and his deputy were arrested. They were charged with large-scale fraud. They'd siphoned off money meant for the defense projects. Now, speculation is rife that Starovoit also had a hand in it. And when he was dismissed, he knew he could be next. Perhaps that's why he took the extreme step. Fear is now gripping the corridors of power in Moscow. Analysts say he probably saw no way out. Either it was jail for him or disgrace. And in the end, he chose disgrace. There was no middle path. You see, in Stalin's time, officials would shoot themselves before they were caught. Back then, it was better to die with dignity than to die with prison walls closing in on you. Now it seems that tradition has returned. This death is not just about Stanislav's, it's a message for all of Russia's ministers, governors, and officials. A message from within the system. A message that says your power and your protection are not guaranteed. They can vanish overnight, and when they do, you might just have minutes to decide how you want to go. But honestly, given the chilling silence from the Kremlin, what choice do they really have? The whole story is being controlled. The Kremlin is saying very little. Investigations are underway, they say, but television, which is key to controlling public opinion, has been silent. The story is being buried under layers of speculation and whispers, but the implications are loud and clear.